Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddart. Excited today to bring somebody that many of you know, some of you don't, however your relationship is with this individual, you're going to take something away. We're going to learn today how to build a more powerful network from somebody who's done it, is doing it again, and is going to teach us how he does it. Before I fully introduce him, let me remind you that inside of the Scaling Your Referral Business on Facebook, you will get the most of my help, helping you to not just build a powerful relationship-based business, but one that scales. So excited to have you in that group. Today's guest, again, he is best known probably in the Portland area for his work on the Portland Real Estate Podcast, co-host there, also the Real Deals podcast, and also TTM Development. His name is Tucker Merrihew. Tucker, it's such a pleasure to have you here, man. Thanks you for coming on the show today.
I appreciate you having me, and I apologize in advance for being difficult to schedule. I'm usually not, but as I said before, transition months are tough, man, and I'm in the middle of one right now.
So for those that don't know, in fact, am I okay to announce this? I'm assuming, Tucker?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. So Tucker and his family are moving to Naples, Florida, where he's going to be moving his practice down there. So he's really getting a fresh start on what it looks like to build a powerful network from the ground up, right? Obviously, he's confident enough in his skills to be able to build a powerful network, right? That at this point in his career, he's willing to go and start over. So great lessons we're going to pull from you today, Tucker. Again, excited to have you here. So a little more background. Tell me a little bit more about your development company, what you guys specialize in. That'll give us all some context.
Yeah, for sure. So I started the development company officially in 2008.
I think you muted, buddy. Can you hear us? Test. Can't I hear you? Can you hear us? I don't think it's just me. I might have you pop out and hop back in, Tucker, if you got a sec. I'm not sure why the audio went out on us. So while he does that, and you can keep testing at any point, Tucker. So for those that don't know, I come out of the development building business and admire those that do it at a high level like Tucker does. It takes a lot out of you to not just have the job of building a practice of kind of a pipeline, right? But in this world of kind of this development world, you have a number of different things that you are forced at really building. It's number one, a pipeline for the future. It's taking care of your current clients, number two. And then number three, it's taking care of past clients, right? In construction, you have this warranty that lasts oftentimes for a number of years. And to be able to have like managing all of those people while still now also, as Tucker has done, is building a powerful kind of media presence and a powerful networking network. There's a lot going on in this guy's life. One of the things that I'm most interested in learning from Tucker today, and again, if you're here with us today and you've got questions for Tucker, could be about development in your part of the world, could be on how to work with developers, could be anything in between. Would encourage you to write your comments in the comments. I'll be sure and get those to Tucker. One of the things that I teach often when it comes to building a powerful network, and again, we're kind of waiting for Tucker to join back in here. Looks like his connection went out on us. The thing that I've learned is oftentimes when we step into a relationship that could be beneficial for us, is that we do it in a kind of a very self-serving mode, meaning we come in with our hand out, and that oftentimes has us leaving that relationship with an empty hand. Because anytime people feel that you're there to get something, it becomes a pretty quick relationship, a pretty shallow relationship. And so I think it's important for anytime you're looking to build a powerful network for you to first stop and assess, what value can I bring to this individual? What can I do for this person that's going to bring value to them? And if you can't bring value, then number one, you need to not enter into this conversation. A better response is that you need to be asking yourself, how can I add value to this person? Because the reality is you can add value to that person. It's just going to take you more time. It's going to take you a little more effort in order to do that. So That's one of the key things that I'm excited for him to cover. We'll see if he hops back in. It might just be me doing a bit of a solo show today. Oh, here he comes. So here we
Those
go.
damn telesolicitors, man. They call and they blow up your show. So sorry. Anyway, I'll continue the question that you asked if you don't mind, so I
Yep,
can
hit
let
it.
everybody listen. So I started the development company in 2008, and that was, for those of you guys that were around, it was a very questionable time, but we started renovating basically hood houses in North Portland. For lack of a better term, those hood houses are now in fairly expensive neighborhoods because the neighborhoods have changed a lot since then. And, we gradually worked our way into new construction as Portland price points kind of grew. And then we gradually worked our way into being almost exclusively into Lake Oswego. And now we're exclusive to Lake Oswego with all of our projects, just because price points are higher. The market's kind of a little more insulated. And so now we really just focus on high-end new construction and a few renovation projects here and there.
Love it, man. And you're obviously moving your business to Florida. Without getting political, what would you say would be the biggest reason for you to be making that move? Is it the warm weather? Is it just the fact that there's a lot of companies and businesses moving there? What would you say would be kind of the primary drive for you?
Let's say this. I've lived in Portland area here for 36 of my 41 years.
Okay.
I spent about 5 years in Boulder, Colorado. It was sunny 300 days out of the year there. And I have very fond memories of sunshine most days. And so, without getting political, I'll say that one of the main drivers is I'm ready for a chapter with a lot of sunshine. And, I can live my Captain Ron life down there. Nice tan and, floating around on a boat maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who feel that way, right? They get in the sunshine, they're like, I just feel better, I feel more healthy. So good for you, man. I'm excited. What gives you the confidence and the courage to be able to go down and start over, right? Like, obviously, you're leaving a lot. You're leaving a very, not just a successful development company, but like a media presence where people know who you are, which is part of it, right? It's the visibility and the credibility to say, oh, yeah, I know who Tucker is.
Yeah, that's a big question, man. And it's one that I've asked myself a lot. And people have asked me too, like, why are you doing this? Like, you got a pretty good footprint here. You've built a good brand on many fronts. And, I don't have a great answer for you other than the fact that I know that I can do it again. And I've done it once, and it's, similar to what you've done here with your show. You do it once, you can do it again. And so is it a challenge? Is it a mountain to climb? Yeah, it's a big one. Would I'd be lying if I said, I never had any second thoughts about it at all, because that's just simply not true. But at the end of the day, I know that I can do this again. And the other thing is us going to Naples is it's not a horizontal move. It's not a move down. It's a big move up. So, the next phase of my career is going to be probably partnering with private equity, family offices, things like that, so that we can have, 20, 30, 40, 50 million at play at any given time with our projects, and not just, raising $1 million here, $1 million there to play around in the Portland market. So it'll give me more runway to kind of take my career to the next level and just kind of achieve more of my own potential. And so there's a lot of internal kind of drive to maximize what I've been given, in terms of what's between my two ears and how far I can take it. And so that's another part of this too, is that there's just, it's crazy there. It makes, when you're there, it makes Lake Oswego feel like everybody should be on an EBT card. Like it's crazy the amount of money that's there. So I'm looking forward to kind of diving into that and making a name and kind of rebuilding this brand and my footprint in a bigger, more expensive market. I wouldn't say bigger market, but more expensive market with a lot more money.
I'm excited to delve into here in just a second, like what your first steps are going to be. But I just want to highlight something that you said. And I think each and every one of us have a responsibility to recognize the talents and gifts, whatever you want to call them, like what we've been given, and to multiply them and to actually build upon them. And if you think you're coasting along, life's pretty good, it's comfortable, I would caution you to be leery of that. Not only from a standpoint of you're ultimately not going to be very happy and fulfilled, but at some point when people are comfortable and they're not stretched and growing, whether it be automation, whether it be competitor, somebody else steps in, something else steps in and removes you from that comfortable spot, right? The market doesn't sit very well in comfort when there are other people out there hustling to make things happen. So again, I would just kind of caution for anybody that wants to be successful and have a significant life as well, meaning very happy, very fulfilled, doing great work, is that it's not always going to feel comfortable. In fact, it won't probably feel comfortable for very long. So the fact that you're doing this, Tucker, is a great indicator. And part of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, right? Which is all about thinking bigger, about stretching ourselves, about maximizing the potential inside of us. So it's great stuff. Let's go tactical here a little bit. You walk into Naples, right? Drive into Naples. How are we going to get there? What's your first strategy, right? Starting from, like, nobody knows who you are, right? This whole topic of this episode is how do I build a powerful network? Talk us through what you would do, because I think that's going to speak to everybody here who doesn't have Tucker's like brand, Tucker's identity, your visibility, and your network here. Like, well, of course, because he's got this podcast and he's got this successful development company. Not anymore, right? It's all taken away. So talk to us like what are the first steps when you don't know people, you don't have that network yet? What are some of the first things that you do in order to build that network?
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm still in the process of doing it, but I'll say this, for the last 10 years, I don't remember the last time we bought a piece of property on market, right? So, one of my better skill sets is my ability to find off market opportunities. And so I've already started doing that there, basically taking what I do here and do it there. And I'm about this close to inking a deal on a oceanfront lot that a family's owned since the 50s. And so that may be our first, it's probably going to be a $6 or $7 million sellout build. But, by virtue of buying that, starting that will expedite me having to build my relationships with architects and subcontractors and all these things. And, this past Monday, I may have mentioned it to you, may not have, but I actually had to take my contractor's test for the state of Florida on Monday, which was hell, to be honest, because it was 7 hours in a cubicle wearing a mask, and I couldn't leave, I couldn't eat, I couldn't do anything. And I passed, fortunately, with 80%, but it was probably the hardest test I've ever taken in my life on top of that. So, as we take on these projects and we do these things, it's going to allow me to kind of continue to build my network through that first one and that second one. So it's really just like, you got to get on the field and play to start building the network. And that's what I've done. And it starts with lead generation. So that's the thing I do really well. I started lead generation. We'll take on a project, and then from there, we'll grow the network.
So I love it. Getting in the game, playing, all of a sudden you're forced to build a network, right? How did you find this family, right? These people who had this oceanfront property. How did that, talk to us about how you got there?
So direct mail, I use direct mail a lot. That's basically everything that we buy is from direct mail. And so this guy with a blower just likes to hang out by my car, so I apologize for listening. But we target, properties that are investment grade or meant to be bought by a builder or investor. And we have a direct mail sequence that we send. And, here locally, I do it enough that people recognize our brand, and we pair that with our projects and our podcast. And it usually creates a good response, especially over time. So anybody that owns a piece of property, especially in Lake Oswego, that's either investment grade or should be bought by a builder, we've probably talked to them. So it's really just a matter of whether or not we can come to an agreement on a fair price for the property. And so I'm deploying that same skill set in Naples. And, with the minimal amount of marketing that I've done thus far, I had got the opportunity to talk to an individual his family's owned the property since the 50s. He lives in Eastern Illinois right now, and he wants to sell that and move that money to up in Northeast Illinois with his family.
I love it, man. So really, you've taken kind of a wide net approach, now a refined one, right? You know who you're talking to. You've got a very systematic way of doing it to where you're having intelligent conversations with people, targeted like the right audience, getting the right message, which is creating this opportunity for conversation. At that point, what does it look like? You get somebody that responds, raises their hand, says, look, we're thinking about selling. Actually, it's funny that, we got your thing in the mail here. You go sit down and meet with them. Is that the next step?
Generally here, yeah, we'll go see the property in person. There's nothing that you can't, meeting in person is the best way to build rapport, right? Building rapport is the best way to put yourself on track to doing a transaction, given you can come to an agreement on price, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in Naples, I'm not there yet. This guy lives in Northeast Illinois. So our rapport building has been purely over the phone. But, I have been able to leverage the fact that I know what the hell I'm talking about. And so, part of this game is just kind of instilling confidence in people when they talk to you. And so, this guy, he could talk to, and it's not a diss on realtors or anybody else, but he could talk to somebody that doesn't build houses but just wants to sell real estate, and it's going to be a different conversation than it's with somebody who builds houses and sells the houses, right? And so that conversation is just, it's a little deeper, it's a little more just earnest in nature, hopefully, and it instills a little bit more confidence in people, and that confidence allows you to connect with them, and if you can connect with them, your likelihood of doing business is higher. And so that's where we're at with this guy, and that'll be what it is with everybody, and it has been with everybody that I've talked to in the past, that we've bought property from here. I mean, one gal, the last piece of property we bought here, like literally her last words to me were, "I'm glad we decided to sell to you. I hope you make a ton of money with this lot." Right. So, I guess that says something about our ability to connect with people. So,
Yeah. Well, I think people are looking for leadership, right? At the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that the highest form of sales is leadership. People are paying you to lead them to the outcome that that you wanted. It's hard to lead people if you don't know what you're talking about, right?
yeah.
You can kind of have a few catchy catchphrases, but at the end of the day, if you don't actually have the knowledge, and it's hard to actually lead people anywhere. So awesome stuff. Talk to us a little bit about a tool. I know we're about out of time. You've got a tool to help people kind of cast that wide net, right? So for some people that are interested in, okay, how do I get an audience that I can then kind of refine down and then start having these conversations? What is that tool? I know it's a dialing tool.
Yeah. So I also am one of the owners of a company. It's called Call Magic, and so it's basically a lead generation company, right? And it's probably a wider net tool than what I specifically use in finding lots to build for my business in certain parts of town, right? But it's a wider net tool in that we basically create lead flow for agents and investors where we have the initial conversation, which is usually the most uncomfortable one, let's be honest. And then at the point that somebody says, yes, I would be willing to sell, and this is approximately the price range I'd be willing to sell in, then you can kind of grade the lead and you can see, okay, it's a retail lead, it's a retail property, it's a good lead for an agent, right? Or it's a wholesale lead, they want a quasi wholesale price, that might be a good lead for an investor. And so once you can grade the lead, you can kind of kick it on down to whomever it is that you're generating these leads for. You can give them kind of the breakdown on it, and then they can call and they can make that secondary connection with them, and hopefully they can do business with them. So we do that for agents, we do that for investors all over the country, and it's a great tool for kind of wide net marketing for people that need consistent lead flow into their business to kind of keep building their own pipeline of opportunities.
Yeah, I love it. And if you're in that spot, right, where you don't yet know anybody, you don't, like, you're maybe new to an area, you need to start somewhere. And maybe it's even I don't necessarily want to practice on people that are very influential, right? Or people that are in my own personal network. I'd rather practice on strangers and get comfortable speaking, leading, teaching. Cool, right? Like, this might be the great opportunity for you to really kind of build that network, kind of refine that database to a group of people that then you can start to kind of level up and go to some of those more influential people.
Yeah. And at a certain level too, as your agent business gets bigger and bigger, like you're looking for different marketing channels to deliver lead flow. Right. And so it works well for that also, because your sphere and your past clients can only deliver you so much. And so if you go outside of that, in some of these lists that we're pulling, they're, 30, 40,000 person lists. Right. And we go through that and we generate leads. And so you're tapping into these different subsections of people that you would never get to otherwise. Right. So it's just another way to look at it.
So 2 more questions. What's one of the biggest mistakes you see people make when it comes to building a powerful network?
I think people want to take too quickly. I think that's the big thing. Nobody wants you in their circle until they want you in their circle, right? So be valuable in whatever way that is. Like, maybe it's just as a person, maybe it's as a person and in what you do, but just try and be valuable and not be cheesy. That's the one thing that I see a lot of people making mistakes, just trying to be overly cheesy and just taking initially. And somebody like me, you can see that very quickly, and it just kind of is a professional turnoff. Let's call it, right.
That quick monologue that I did when you were reconnecting, that's exactly what I talked about. Is all too often people come in with their hand out. They don't even realize they have their hand out, but it's very obvious that they're there to get something. And it quickly causes you to put them in a category of vendor solicitor, as opposed to a peer, right? As opposed to, someone who I can do business with. These people are trying to get something from me, and it's a totally different feel. So to encourage you again, if you're looking at building a powerful network, what Tucker just shared, there's gold. Okay, last question, Tucker, then we'll wrap up, which is this: you are a big thinker. You're demonstrating that with the courage of you moving your practice down to Naples, Florida. What do you do to continue to be a big thinker? What do you do to continue to grow yourself, to expand your possibilities?
You know, I mean, we've discussed it a little bit, but I'll just kind of, sure it up for everybody. Is I put myself in uncomfortable situations, right? And I make myself figure a way out of it. And so I'd say closing up shop here and moving to all the way across the country to another market, like Naples, and basically forcing myself to redo this. That's putting yourself in a very uncomfortable situation. And so I think that's the key to thinking bigger, is that you just have to kind of push yourself, right? And you'll be surprised how far you can go if you do, and you just kind of step outside of that little comfort bubble that we all like to live in, but ultimately we shouldn't.
Good stuff, man. I appreciate that very much. Appreciate you coming on the show. I know you got a lot going on right now, like a lot going on in life right now. It means a lot that you would have the integrity to keep the commitment, do the show. We've all benefited as a result. I look forward to staying in contact. Appreciate the comments that have come in here from Facebook. Some nice words coming to me and Tucker. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. My final request of everybody listening here today are these 3 simple words, and they are: go think bigger. Tucker, appreciate you helping us do that today, my friend.
Appreciate you having me and being patient with me this week.
Always, man. You bet, bud. Talk soon.
Take it.